Friedrich Nietzsche collapsed on a street in Turin. January 3, 1889. He was 44 years old. Witnesses said he saw a horse being whipped by its owner. The horse was old, exhausted, bleeding. Nietzsche ran to the horse, threw his arms around its neck, and started crying. Then he collapsed. When he woke up, his mind was gone. He couldn't speak coherently, couldn't write, couldn't recognize his own mother. For the next 11 years, until his death in 1900, the greatest philosophical mind of the 19th century lived like a child, fed by his mother, unable to think, unable to create. His final lucid moment was hugging a beaten horse. But here's what's haunting: before he lost his mind, Nietzsche wrote 2 words that would define his entire philosophy. 2 words that explain why he could hug that horse with such love. 2 words: Amor Fati. Love your fate. Not accept it. Not tolerate it. Not endure it. Love it. This is the philosophy that says, everything that happened to you, the good and the horrific, was necessary. And if you could go back in time with full knowledge of what would happen, you wouldn't change a single thing. Because it made you who you are. And who you are is exactly who you needed to become. You've been taught the wrong philosophy about suffering. Society tells you, avoid pain, pursue pleasure, eliminate struggle, optimize comfort. The entire self-help industry runs on one promise: follow these steps and life will be easy. But Nietzsche saw through this lie. He said, what if pain is not a bug in the system? What if it's a feature? What if the worst things that happened to you were the best things that could have happened? This sounds insane. Until you look at Nietzsche's life. His father died when he was 4. Raised by his mother and sister in a house full of grief. At 24, became the youngest professor at Basel University. Genius. Prodigy. Destined for greatness. Then his health collapsed. Migraine so severe he'd vomit for hours. Nearly blind. Chronic pain. At 35, he had to resign. Too sick to work. Spent the next decade wandering Europe. Alone. Writing books nobody read. Publishing at his own expense. Mocked by academics. Ignored by the world. His best friend, Richard Wagner, betrayed him. The woman he loved, Lou Salome, rejected him. Twice. He proposed marriage. She laughed. At 44, his mind shattered. And he spent his final 11 years in silence. This was Nietzsche's life. Suffering. Rejection. Loneliness. Madness. And yet, in the middle of all this pain, he wrote, my formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. Not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it, but love it. Not despite the pain. Because of it. Let's go deeper into what amor fati actually means. Because most people misunderstand it. They think it's the same as stoicism. It's not. Stoicism says, accept what you cannot change. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's acceptance. Resignation. Making peace with reality. Amor fati goes further. Much further. It says, don't just accept what happened. Love it. Be grateful for it. Embrace it so fully that if given the chance to relive your life exactly as it was, you'd say yes without hesitation. Nietzsche illustrated this with a thought experiment he called eternal recurrence. Imagine a demon appears to you and says, this life you're living now, you will live again. And again. And again. Forever. Every pain. Every joy. Every mistake. Every triumph. Infinite times. Nothing will change. Same exact life. For eternity. How would you react? Most people would scream in horror. The thought of reliving their worst moments forever would be unbearable. But Nietzsche said, if this thought crushes you, then you're living wrong. But if this thought makes you fall to your knees in gratitude, then you've achieved amor fati. That's the test. Would you choose your exact life again? Every heartbreak? Every failure? Every humiliation? If the answer is no, you're resisting your fate. If the answer is yes, you've found amor fati. Here's why this philosophy is so powerful. And why it's different from toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing. Amor fati doesn't say, everything happens for a reason. That's passive. That's giving up agency. Amor fati says, everything happened. Now what will you make it mean? It's active. Creative. Transformative. Let me show you the difference. Toxic positivity, I lost my job, but everything happens for a reason. The universe has a plan. This is passive. You're waiting for the universe to reveal the lesson. Amor fati, I lost my job. This is my reality. I will not wish it didn't happen. Instead, I will ask, how can this loss become the best thing that ever happened to me? See the difference? One waits. One creates. Nietzsche lost his health, his career, his mind. He didn't say, "God has a plan for my suffering." He said, "This suffering is mine. I will transform it into philosophy, into art, into meaning." And he did. Thus spoke Zarathustra. His masterpiece was written during his worst health crisis. Migraines. Half-blind. In constant pain. But he called it his greatest work. Why? Because the pain forced him to go deeper. To think harder. To create something he never could have created in comfort. That's Amor Fati. Not waiting for suffering to reveal its purpose, but forcing suffering to serve your purpose. Now let's talk about how Nietzsche's life prepared him for this philosophy. He didn't invent Amor Fati in a moment of inspiration. He earned it through decades of pain. At age 4, his father died of a brain disease. Nietzsche watched him deteriorate. A brilliant pastor reduced to a drooling invalid. Then dead. That image haunted Nietzsche his whole life. Because he knew, I have my father's disease. One day, this will be me. And it was. At 24, Nietzsche became a professor. The youngest in Europe. Everyone said, genius. He'll revolutionize philosophy. But his body was already breaking. Migraines that lasted days. Vomiting. Temporary blindness. Doctors couldn't help. They didn't understand. So Nietzsche kept teaching. Kept writing. Kept pushing. Until he couldn't. At 35, he resigned. His academic career was over. For most people, this would be the end. The great promise unfulfilled. But for Nietzsche, it was liberation. He wrote, "Illness freed me. It forced me to stop living for others' expectations. Now I could think my own thoughts. Write my own truth." That's Amor Fati. The thing that destroyed his career became the thing that created his philosophy. Then came the loneliness. Nietzsche had few friends. And the ones he had, he lost. Richard Wagner, the composer, was like a father to him. They shared ideas. Dreamed together. Then Wagner betrayed him. Became everything Nietzsche hated, nationalist, anti-Semitic, shallow. Nietzsche cut ties. Lost his closest friend. Then Lou Salome. A brilliant Russian woman. Nietzsche fell in love. Proposed marriage. She rejected him. He proposed again. She rejected him again. Then she married his best friend. Nietzsche was crushed. He wrote letters begging her to reconsider. She ignored him. Most men would become bitter. Resentful. Nietzsche did for a while. But then he transformed it. He wrote, "That which does not kill me makes me stronger," not as a cliché. As lived experience. Lou's rejection forced him to face his deepest fear, total isolation. And in that isolation, he found his voice. Thus Spoke Zarathustra was written in the aftermath. Born from heartbreak. That's Amor Fati. Let's look at the neuroscience and psychology behind why Amor Fati works. Why loving your fate is actually more effective than just accepting it. There's a concept in psychology called post-traumatic growth. It's the opposite of PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder, trauma breaks you. Post-traumatic growth, trauma rebuilds you stronger. Studies show that 30 to 70% of people who experience severe trauma report positive life changes afterward. Not despite the trauma. Because of it. They report deeper relationships, greater appreciation for life, increased personal strength, new possibilities, spiritual growth. But here's the key, post-traumatic growth doesn't happen automatically. It requires active processing. You have to work with the trauma, not just survive it. That's exactly what Amor Fati teaches. Don't just survive your suffering. Transform it. Use it. Make it mean something. Another study from the University of California found that people who practice benefit finding after negative events, meaning they actively search for the benefits of what happened, show better mental health outcomes than people who practice acceptance alone. Acceptance helps. But active transformation helps more. That's the difference between stoicism and Amor Fati. Stoicism, accept the obstacle. Amor Fati, love the obstacle. Make it your advantage. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic, said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Beautiful. True. But Nietzsche goes one step further, the impediment was necessary. Without it, you'd be less. Love it for making you more. Here's the practical application. How do you actually practice Amor Fati in real life? Step 1. The inventory. Make a list of the worst things that ever happened to you. The things you wish you could erase. Betrayal. Failure. Loss. Humiliation. Write them down. All of them. This will be painful. Do it anyway. Step 2. The reframe. For each terrible thing, complete this sentence: if this hadn't happened, I wouldn't have. Be specific. Be honest. Example, if my father hadn't died when I was young, I wouldn't have developed the independence that defines me. If I hadn't been fired, I wouldn't have started my own business. If they hadn't rejected me, I wouldn't have found the person I actually belong with. This isn't toxic positivity. You're not saying the bad thing was good. You're saying, the bad thing happened. And I became stronger because of it. Step 3, the eternal recurrence test. Close your eyes. Imagine living your exact life again. Every moment. Every pain. Every joy. Exactly the same. Forever. Can you say yes to that? If not, what needs to change? Not in your past. In how you're living right now. Because Amor Fati isn't just about the past. It's about the present. Are you living in a way that you'd choose to repeat forever? If not, change. Now. Step 4, the daily practice. Every morning, say this: whatever happens today, I will not wish it were different. I will use it. Transform it. Make it serve my growth. Not as a mantra. As a commitment. When something bad happens, your first thought will be, I wish this wasn't happening. That's normal. Human. But your second thought should be, this is happening. How will I make this useful? Let me tell you about Nietzsche's final coherent writing before madness took him. It's from Ecce Homo, his autobiography. He was reviewing his life. All the pain. All the suffering. And he wrote, Amor Fati, let that be my love henceforth. I do not want to wage war against what is ugly. I do not want to accuse, I do not even want to accuse those who accuse. Looking away shall be my only negation. And all in all and on the whole, someday I wish to be only a yes-sayer. Only a yes-sayer. Not because everything is good. But because saying no to what already happened is pointless. The only power you have is in how you respond. And Nietzsche chose, yes. I accept this life. I love this life. Even the parts that destroyed me. Especially the parts that destroyed me. Because they made me who I am. Here's what they don't tell you about Amor Fati. It's not a philosophy for the weak. It's not everything happens for a reason, feel-good nonsense. It's brutal. Demanding. Uncompromising. It asks you to look at the worst moments of your life and say, I'm glad that happened. Not because it felt good. But because it made you real. Because comfort creates nothing. Struggle creates everything. Nietzsche wrote, you want to make yourself easier, lighter, freer? Fool. That path leads to weakness. Instead, make yourself heavier. Add weight. Embrace the burden. That's how you become strong. This is the opposite of modern self-help. Modern advice: eliminate stress, avoid conflict, prioritize self-care, protect your peace. Amor Fati says, seek the struggle. Choose the hard path. Love the wait. Because that's what builds you. Not into someone comfortable. Into someone capable. Friedrich Nietzsche died on August 25, 1900. He was 55 years old. He'd been insane for 11 years. Silent. Unable to create. Unable to think. His final words, spoken to his mother years earlier, were, Mutter, ich bin dumm. Mother, I am stupid. The greatest mind of his generation. Reduced to that. His book sold almost nothing during his lifetime. He died unknown. Broke. Forgotten. 20 years later, his ideas conquered philosophy. 50 years later, existentialism was born from his work. 100 years later, he studied in every university in the world. His tragedy became his triumph. Not because he avoided suffering. But because he transformed it into meaning. That's Amor Fati. That's the philosophy that says, your pain is not a mistake. Your failure is not a detour. Your loss is not a punishment. It's the path. The only path. To who you're meant to become. So the question isn't, why did this happen to me? The question is, what will I make this mean? Nietzsche made his suffering mean something eternal. What will you make yours mean? Your Amor Fati starts today. Look at your life. Every part. The good. The terrible. The shameful. The proud. And ask yourself, would I choose this again? If the answer is no, you have work to do. Not in changing the past. In loving it. Because here's the final truth, you cannot change what happened. But you can change what it means. And the moment you decide to love your fate, to embrace every terrible beautiful moment of your existence, you become free. Not free from suffering. Free to transform it. That's Amor Fati. That's Nietzsche's final gift. Love your fate. Not someday. Today. Right now. This moment. This life. Exactly as it is. Love it. And watch what you become.